The movie The Matrix is not science fiction. The movie The Matrix is documentary. I say, why? First, everyone was programmed. I go, yeah, that's a true story. Every one of us got programmed between 0 and 7. We were programmed. And then in the movie, they say if you take a red pill, you get out of the program. So I want people to know most everybody out there is taking the red pill and changed their life in 24 hours. Boom, just like that. I say, when? I say, when you fell in love. When you fell in love, you stopped thinking. If you're not thinking, then the conscious mind is in control. The conscious mind is not in control when you're thinking. So if you're not thinking, then the conscious mind's controlling your life. So when you fall in love, you stop thinking. You stay what is called present. You stay what is called mindful. This means you're paying attention and not thinking anymore. Well, if you're not thinking, then that's the red pill. Now you are free to create whatever you want. That's when people create what is called the honeymoon. That part of falling in love, and then right after you fall in love, life is so beautiful and everything is wonderful. I go, that's because you're not playing the programs anymore. When you fall in love, you are now the creator, and you created heaven on earth when you fell in love. And the whole idea was, how did I do it? And I said, you stop playing the program and you started becoming the creator with the wishes and desires, and you created wishes and desires, and that's why it's called honeymoon. Okay. So the important part is this: 95% of the day is the time we spend thinking. And that means that 95% of the day, your life is not coming from wishes and desires. It's coming from programs. And the programs came from other people. And as I said, 60% are not good programs. That means if we do math, 95% of the day you're running the program, and 60% of those programs are self-sabotage. So I go, oh, then it's my thinking that's interfering with my life. And I go, yeah, but you have to. That's the world we live in. Yeah. And so now you say, well, but I got a program from my parents that's not good. And now I have to run the program 95% of the day. I go, yeah, that's what's going to happen. And then I say, and we'll talk about it with another question, I'm sure. You can reprogram the subconscious and put in your wishes and your desires as part of the program. And I say, so what would that mean? And then it says, well, then when you're running the program 95% of the day, the behaviors are your wishes and your desires. And all of a sudden your life is now completely different. Because right now you're running the program, but you got the program from your mother and your father and other people. That's not yours. So we have to put in new programs, and then we have power.
One idea came to my head, Bruce.
Yeah.
So it means you were talking about love. So it means if I have one day and I will just tell to myself, hey, this day I will be in love with everything. I will just support myself to feel love to
Yes.
my door, to what I drink, to what I eat, to other people around me. It means that this is crucial moment for me because I for a one day stop thinking and stop looking back to my subconsciousness
Yeah.
what I have there, the programs.
Yeah.
Is it right that
100%, because the conscious mind is the one connected to your spirit, okay? But it's the one that has the wishes and desires. And if you're going to stop playing the program, red pill, stop playing the program and start using the conscious mind, then you are creating your life with your wishes and desires and not creating the life that you've been programmed with, okay? A very important point, the Catholic group called the Jesuits, they have told their followers for 400 years, they told their followers, give me a child until it is 7 and I will show you the man. I said, what were they saying? They say, if I can program the first 7 years, then 95% of the life of that child is coming from this program. And they knew that for 400 years, told people all the time.
wow.
People didn't understand what happened in that first 7 years. I said, that's when you got a program. And how'd you
Wow.
get it? You were just observing, recording like video recorder, just downloading other people's behavior, but it's not your behavior. It's not
Mm,
your wishes and desires. That comes from conscious mind.
mm. That's
So,
cool. Bruce, let me ask you one question.
yeah.
Now in the Czech Republic, we have the situation that people are very, let's say, unhappy with politics, with politicians. We are very angry. We have new premier. We're not satisfied. He has no trust of people. La 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 la. And uh, what is in? I listened to you carefully. Why we need to fight is the fight for something, for change, result of our programs. And finally, in the end, can it change something, or is this never ending circle?
No. Okay. The first thing is this. Yeah, there's problem in the Czech Republic. There's problem in almost every country around the world right at this minute. Chaos is not in one country, it's everywhere. Why? Because the whole civilization, all the humans, have created a problem by destroying nature and not recognizing we are nature. We came from nature. If nature disappears, so do we disappear. That's why extinction is happening. And so you see, everybody is not satisfied with what's going on because the old way was, okay, I'm the powerful guy and I will tell you, you're not powerful, but I will tell you what to do. I'm the government and you are I tell you what to do. This is the wrong kind of government. The original kind of government we're looking for is the people pick the government based on what the people want. Now, the United States started out that way originally. And people from all over the world came and shared their knowledge. And we had something different in the US than in any other country because every other country had the same people living there for hundreds and hundreds of years, the same culture. But when the US was created, it wasn't from one culture, it came from cultures all over the world. So it brought together a world population and gave them an opportunity to create their own leadership, not be there's no king above here that says what we do. No. But if people are programmed, you can use that program to put in who you want to be the leader. And we have leaders in the US that's like, I cannot believe how bad our leaders are. I mean, it's like when we had Donald Trump, I go, we must be the stupidest country in the whole world to have that guy as the president. And we are, because we lost our intelligence because of programming. And this is what the government wants. The government, because if you're intelligent and you're healthy, you're going to be very difficult to control. So if you're not healthy and you're not intelligent, then you're easy to control. And
Yeah.
it's funny because I just visited the Czech Republic and I was there, God, 30 or 40 years ago, post war, and it was recovering, but it was still old history Europe at that point. But since that time, everything is new and it's being built up. And it's really beautiful because, when I come back these days and I look at like Czechoslovakia, I go, wow, pretty modern, pretty advanced. They even got more technology than we have in the United States because we're going downhill and other countries are going uphill at this point. But the fact is, all of them have to come down to build a new one. So even in a great situation in Czechoslovakia, people are not that happy with the leadership. Why? Because that's the old belief system. I'm going to control you. And when somebody controls you, then you are not in control. That means you have no power. And this is a time that says the only way we will move into the future is give the power back to the people. That was your original understanding. Give it to the people, because then you can elect the kind of government that fits what you want. But if you're not, if you're not that intelligent or you've been programmed not to be very intelligent, then who are you picking? Why? It's not our control. And we need to take the control back. And to take the control back means we have to start creating what we want and not just play the programs that we got from parents and generations. We don't want that. It was interesting. I was in Israel, give a talk in Tel Aviv. And I talked about how programming creates the life we have, and that these programs occur in the first 7 years, and that you're actually taking the parents' program and just passing it on to the kid because they're just copying the program, and then they pass it on to their kids, and we keep playing these kind of programs like this. So I described how the program was created, how kids download and all this, and it was interesting because this was in Tel Aviv, but we brought in 300 Palestinians from the West Bank that they never even walked across the line into Israel, just across the wall. And we brought them in. So we had an audience with Palestinians on one side and Israelis on the other side. And they don't talk to each other. And then I'm getting into the program and saying that how you raise the children is creating the future. And then I said, I remember the slide. It was a black slide, and it just said, "The problem." And then two pictures come on the screen. One, Israeli children playing with machine guns, and two, Palestinian children dressed up in military uniform carrying fake guns. I say, this is the programming for your children. They're going to hate each other. They don't even know each other. They're kids. They didn't even meet you. And yet the programming is, we don't like you. I'm Israeli. I don't like Palestinians. I'm Palestinians. I don't like Israelis. I go, they don't even talk to each other, but they got program. And the program in that first 7 years is anger, war, violence, military. Let's get this all in. And I showed these two pictures in this room after talking about the programming. You could hear a pin drop in this giant auditorium. It got dead quiet. Because in the first moment, they all said, oh my God, we are keeping this war going by programming our children to keep the war going, keep the violence going. We're programming them.
Yeah.
And then I showed the next slide and I said the solution. And I had an Israeli girl and a Palestinian girl playing with each other. And I had an Israeli boy and a Palestinian boy walking with their arms around each other. And I said, these kids will never fight each other. They grow up knowing each other. And so friends of ours created a school that has both Palestinian and Israeli kids, nursery school, growing up school, very beginning. And they show how they come together. The kids have no separation. They don't know one from the other. They're playing with each other. They're enjoying each other all day long. Nobody said, that's Israeli, that's Palestinian, we don't like it. Nobody said that. The kids don't even know the difference. What was the point? I said, these kids will never fight each other. They grew up together as friends. But you are perpetuating the war because you're separating them as kids, saying this side's bad, this side's good. It's like, you're creating this. But it was interesting because you could feel in this room when all of a sudden they went, look what we're doing. I go, that's the first step to make a better future. It was so exciting because they never stopped long enough to know that they were programming the kids to hate each other even before the kids even met each other. So that's the kind of programming that destroys the world. The programming that brings it together is they all went to school in the same time with each other, played in the playground, did their school. They grew up together. There is no separation between them. And
I
this
like
is
that
what
story.
the
I
world
like that story.
needs.
Sorry, Bruce, for
Yeah, go
interrupting
ahead.
you. I like the story very much. It recalls me a story from my country because I was really shocked. I've been traveling for 5 months right now, in Asia, Vietnam, Thailand,
Yeah,
Nepal as well, the beautiful countries. And sometimes I get information from my country, and there was some event that they put into Prague, machine guns and tanks from Ukraine and Russia to show children what is to be hero. And I really read the articles in my country. People, my followers, because we were discussing that. So this is programming as well, I think. It's programming, just there someone is a hero who destroyed a tank and who killed someone. That
yeah,
that was devastating for me, that we show death in reality, it's not only the movie from Hollywood, it's reality. We
Yes,
bring tanks and we put them to the square for children to see who is hero and who is not. It's so
right.
stupid, Bruce.
But
Isn't it
that's the
stupid?
programming that I'm talking about. And I said, you could have a good teacher, you could have a bad teacher. I said, what's a bad teacher? One that teaches for their power, not for the power of the student. A good teacher teaches to give the students power. A bad teacher teaches to take away the power from the
Yeah.
students. And then, as you just said, and again, right, it's the children that see these things and in their mind,
Yeah. Yeah.
war, violence. This is how life is. Life is war and violence. That's all they see. So when they
Mhm.
grow up, war and violence is, oh yeah, that's what we have because
Yeah.
that's the way it is. Like, oh, that was a program. We
Mm.
don't need the war and the violence.
Yes,
And
I agree
and
with
to me,
you.
it's very interesting because the current situation in Ukraine is like in today's modern world, the idea of carrying out a war is like ancient
Yeah.
ancient history kind of stuff.
I
Today
don't
we
get
have
it.
communication. Today we talk to each other. Today we bargain with each other. And yet, unfortunately, the action of a war is from an ancient mindset, and it doesn't fit in today's world at all. And it's
Yeah.
time for us to wake up and say,
Yeah.
wait a second, we
Yeah.
don't need this. We don't need this on this planet.
Actually, the next question really relates with this topic. So let's put it here. Zdenka, it's a very interesting question. What percentage of human society would have to change their thinking to change the whole society?
You
So I
ready?
hope I translated it good for you.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, there have been experiments with consciousness, people meditating and trying to change the world. And they found out how many people, if they got together in a group, could change the statistics, like in a city, like in New York or in Palestine. Can you, a number of people get together and think very positive meditation about peace and harmony? Can they affect it? Well, they can. Percentage is small. It's less than 1% of the population that it takes to change the world. So it's not like, God, everybody in the world is going to have to learn this before we change. I go, no, 1%, less than that actually can change the world. And this is this kind of transcendental meditation study. And it's been done in several different cities. And then look at the statistics of crime and violence before and during and after the meditation.
hmm,
And they found that during the meditation, all the crime rates and all the violence dropped. When the
hmm,
meditations were over, they came back up again. And the point was, if
wow,
people stayed in that meditation, maybe it would never come back up. But you can't expect the other people to sit in meditation and wait for your world to get better. We just have to get better on our own.
yeah,
And this is possible. But the good news, as you brought up, is what percent? And I said, a small percent. And
hmm,
this is really helpful because it's like when you look at the problem, you go, we have 8 billion people. How are we going to change that big a number? And actually, I think it's called the square root of 1%. It's a very small number proportion wise.
hmm,
So does that mean we have to wait for the whole world to change? I go, no, just a small percentage of people will change their belief and the rest will change automatically. That's how it works.
wow. Yeah. Here in Asia, it's a lot of Buddhism. You
Yes.
know, it's an amazing teaching. Very very different from what we have in Europe, like Christianity and other systems. And yeah, it reminds me all the time, like to be calm. Just to it's very very similar what you say about programming, because I
Yeah.
think that Buddhism is very very close to that thinking. What do you think,
I
Bruce?
think 100%. I've spent time over in Thailand and even lived there for bits of time. And I found it was one of the most peaceful places I've ever been. There's a phrase, if I get it right, I hope it's only been 30 years or so since been there. It's called Mai Pen Rai, and that means it's okay. And I remember the first time seeing it, there was two cars hit each other in the street. In the U.S., they'd probably pull a gun, try to kill each other. In Thailand, they got out and they both apologized. Mai Pen Rai, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mm,
They got back in the cars and they went on. Had it been
Yeah.
the U.S., there would be a court case of police, guns. It's like, but they accept. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, that's the way it is. Let's go on to the next thing. It's a story that I really like that is about the same thing, and it's about Buddhists again.
Mm.
Buddhist monks, when they take their vow, are not allowed to touch women. Okay, that's off limits. So here's the story. There are two Buddhist monks walking on a trail. They come to a river, and there's a woman crying, and she's all dressed up in a wedding dress. And she's crying, and one monk asked her, what are you crying over? And she said, I have a wedding, but I can't go across the water. I'll ruin all my clothes. I can't get there, and I'm crying because I can't get across the water. So one monk picks her up, carries her across the water, drops her off on the other side. Then the two monks keep walking. And an hour later, the monk that didn't pick up the woman looks at the one that picked up the woman and says, how could you pick up a woman? You're not supposed to touch a woman. And the one that picked her up says, I dropped her off an hour ago. You're still carrying her. And all of a sudden I go, that's the issue. We walk away from the incident and we carry the incident with us the whole time. And I say, the incident's over. It's over. Let's get on with the next thing. But people hold on to these problems, and they carry the problem not just from when it happened, but they carry it into the future. And it influences the life they're creating because they're coming from a problem. I said, well, then you're manifesting a problem. And so it really is interesting because, yeah, indeed, the Buddhist way of life, and I think it's my Benrai, is the phrase that means everything's okay, don't worry. And I
Yeah,
go,
I
if
think
we
so.
would all
Yeah.
say that, then the anger that people build up when things go wrong would disappear. And that
Yeah.
would make a much healthier, happier world like the one I found in Thailand.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still here. I feel it. So next question is from one of us. Is question number 5. We live in an energy space. How can we prevent bad effects on children?
What kind of attacks on children?
Bad,
Oh,
like bad energy.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think that it's a question about that we, again, the person who asks is that we work like a lot of stress, maybe, and
yeah,
the TV, la la la,
yeah.
and how we can prevent children from stress because they go to school, there is a teacher, like,
And the kids, remember, are carrying the program with them when they go to school.
yeah,
So whatever, if they have a problem at home and the family's not working right, they carry that problem into the world outside and take it to
yeah,
school with them and everything else.
hmm
So the way to change this is really to recognize first, let's start off by being what are called conscious parents, making sure that we give a story of health and harmony and power to a child, where the child has power to be a creator. We always tell them, just do what I say. I go, well, sometimes what I do is not so good, so I don't want them to do what I do. It's funny, what's funny is when your child starts to use a swear word, a bad word, the first time they use it, and you're just standing around, all of a sudden your child says blah blah blah, and look at the child, where'd you get that? And well, the answer is you said it. That's why they got it. But what's interesting? It's always fun for me when I think about it is when they use these words, they don't just use it as a word; they have a meaning attached to it. They caught the meaning when the parent said the word, but they got the meaning from the parent, from the energy of the parent, so that the word doesn't come just as a word, but it comes with a meaning behind it. Okay, so this is really important for parents to recognize. You have to be very careful because the child's downloading all of this stuff. And as I said, only 5% of the day are you being the real conscious parent, that one that says, oh, yeah, I want my kid to be smart and healthy and brave and all that. And then 95% of the day, you're the parent that's just using the same behavior that your parents gave you, you're giving it to your kids, passing it on. So, yeah, it's a really important part to give a child more power. There's a tendency to talk to a child like they're a baby. So we make simple words and, stuff. That baby is downloading everything you're saying. and that child is smarter than you think that child is. Just because the child can't give you an answer about something doesn't mean their brain isn't working yet. And the important part about that is, and really to recognize that children, when they download words, also download all the meanings that go along with those words. And then once they have this program, they carry it out in the world. And then when they get together as children, are they playing from their creative mind, or are they playing from their program? Because the program is what causes one child to get angry with the other child, or to throw a tantrum, or fight, or scream. I say that's a learned program. You know what's interesting? I use the example. I say, when, let's say, a child's on a swing set on the playground swinging, okay, and the child falls off the screen, the swing, and is on the ground. First thing the child will do is look at the parent. And I say, why? I said, because if the parent goes, ah, then the child goes, ah, like that. But if the parent says, oh, it's okay, get up and go on, get back on the swing, then the kid gets up and goes back on the swing. Like so.
Yeah.
So the point was, the child learned the behavior by first observing the response of the parent and then doing that response. And this is why, again, the most critical part of this whole evolution is parenting, because the kids today will be the leaders tomorrow. And if we use the same programming we're using today, then violence will always be a part of our world, and struggle and crime, because that's part of the program. And if we want to change them, we got to start now, right now, and start giving these kids a better program, telling them how smart they are, how wonderful they are. They can do anything. They're creative. They're magnificent, giving them all these wonderful words, because they're recording those. And then 95% of life is going to come from those words. What if a child gets that, you're very good at this, or whatever? When they grow up, the child's very good at it. It's not an accident. They were programmed because that's what the program said.
Yeah.
And so then we have to, unfortunately, own responsibility as parents. It's the parents that are going to determine the future, because it's how they're raising that kid that kid will demonstrate that behavior when they get older.
I have one question for you, Bruce. I'm parent. How can I recognize the difference between, when I act from source, like from love, like, I don't know, whoa, when my child is, and how can I recognize that it's like that I act like stupid, like I over over behave everything, that's like, I'm too much on it, and I care too much, and I destroy the natural growth of my child. How can I recognize the difference? Because my mom, she was like very liberal, like, okay, boys, you are from village, go somewhere. If you fell down, you'll break something, there is people around, just say them, they will take care of you, just survive, don't die, please. It was my mom, like, don't die. I was 10, 11, like, 12. Pretty cool. I loved it, and I really cared all the time. But when someone heard her saying that, it was like, it's not a good mom. It's not a good mother, because she doesn't care too much. So, you know what I mean? How
Yeah,
can I feel okay like a parent that I don't care, but also I express my love and I do not spoil my child, like with programs I don't want them to, have in the head.
right. Well, there's two ways to raise this children. One is raise them with love, and the other was to raise them with program. This is the way we do it. Okay. And the issue about that is that's two different ways of raising a child. Let me give an example. Let's say there's a sports team, maybe football or something like that, okay? And one of the players isn't doing very well. When the coach comes up, the coach doesn't say, oh, please do better. No, the coach says, this is not good enough. You want to stay on the team, you got to be better. You got to work harder. You got to, blah, 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 and yelling at the kid. But the kid is older than 7, which means the kid is now understanding that when the coach is saying that, the coach is wanting that kid to do better. That's why he said it. Okay. If a child is under 7 and the parent acts like a coach and say, that's not good enough. Who do you think you are? You're not that lovable. You're not that smart. A child under 7 is not thinking. It's recording. I say, what is the child's mind? I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not deserving. These are the words the parents said. They just recorded them. And then I say, but 95% of the life when this child gets past 7, 95% of life is coming from that program. So what if I got a program I do not deserve? And I'm older and I'm working real hard because I want to get a raise. And then all of a sudden I don't get a raise. And I go, what happened? Well, I don't deserve. I go, was that the program? If you got a program you do not deserve, you can't get the raise because that would be against the program. So you will unconsciously, because it's a program from subconscious, below conscious, you will sabotage yourself. If you have a program not deserving, you will sabotage yourself. So in the end, you didn't get anything. It's like, yep, I guess I didn't deserve it. That's why I got nothing. I said, but that was a program that you played out and made real. In contrast, if the parent was very loving, it's like there's not yelling at the kid. It's talking to the kid. It's giving them very positive everything. Oh, you're smart. You can do this. You're lovable. You can create anything. You're intelligent. Always positive. Why? Because that's what the child is downloading into the program. And then 95% of that child's life is going to be what? Loving, deserving, worthy. Why? Because that's the program. But parents are like the coaches. They put in the negative programming, not lovable, not deserving. I say, then the result is that child grows up and they're going to play that as their lifestyle. They're not going to be loving. They won't be deserving because the behavior is going to be whatever that programming is. We have to recognize this, that where's this all starting from? I say, when that child's brain boots up and the screen is on, last trimester of pregnancy, from then on for 7 years, whatever words or experiences that child have, they become the program that determines the rest of the life. Now, you talk about being a conscious parent. How do I know I'm being a conscious parent? Well, first of all, does your kid throw tantrums and stuff like that? Or is your kid living in harmony and trying to do the best in everything they can? Well, you can just observe that from behavior. More important, though, is you're in a relationship, usually as parents, okay? And remember, if you're playing your program, you don't see it, you're just playing it, but other people see it. And this is where I say, this is where the real parenting becomes conscious parenting, is when one parent is probably saying stupid things to the kid that is not going to help it. And the other parent watches and goes, wait, don't say that. Because the parent is old, understands that if these words go into that kid, this is not going to help the kid. And so then the parents talk it out and work it out and change the programming so that from that point on, they're not going to put negative programming into the child. But that takes a parent watching the other parent to say, oh, what you just said, that's not going to help the kid. That's going to make it worse. Working together as parents is what's going to generate the best ground for your child to walk on and become a happy, healthy person in the future. And that's where the parents become very critical in this whole thing. Interesting, when Ceausescu was in power, the orphanages were overflowing. And they were overflowing because people are going to have kids. And people say, oh, well, just give them birth control. I say, no, there's something even deeper to having a kid than birth control. They're going to have kids. But in a country where they can't afford to have those kids, and the church is encouraging them to have kids, the question is now, what the hell do? I got kids I can't afford. So we send them to the orphanage. So many kids went to orphanages because their parents couldn't afford them. And I go, what was the result? And I said, no programming. These kids grow up isolated, no parents to watch over them, struggle with each other and all this kind of stuff. But there's nobody giving them the love and the attention that will help them lead off with a very good program. And this is why I think the number was 2/3 of the children in those Romanian orphanages. They were messed up. Their mindset, they were forgot the word, where the child doesn't respond to the world, and they're sort of in their own head but not responding. This is a result. It's a very dramatic thing for a kid, because when they're not being loved, they close in. Protection is close me, protect me, wall me off. So when a child needs protection, they separate from other people. Autism, that's the word I was trying to think. Autism. 2/3 become autistic. Why? They can't communicate. They don't even know how to communicate. They don't even have any experiences in that. Why? They were left in the crib, and every day somebody gave them some food, somebody changed the clothes. There was no parenting. There was no loving, holding, giving the kid a better foundation to get off the ground. So what you can see is the worst situation is nobody takes care of the kid, really, besides feeding it and giving it clothes. I say, what was the result? 2/3 become autistic, non-functional. And I go, and what's the opposite? And I say, oh, well, the opposite is the one where, like we just talked about, where you're the parent, you say, you're great, you can do this. Oh my goodness, what beautiful work you just did. How lovable you are. When you're giving all these positive ones, that program will carry them into the future.
Yeah.
But when they got no programs at all, they dropped out of the game. They weren't even part of the social structure at all. Autistic kids don't communicate with anybody. Why? They've never been able to expand their mind. They're just in protection because nobody's giving them love. And that's where the whole thing falls apart. Love means you're safe. No love means you're not safe.
Hmm.
And this is really important in raising a child.
Bruce, I want to connect with that topic because in my country, psychologists, they're talking about the effects of all restrictions we had, like closing schools, checking children, testing all the time. And some children, they were separated in my country from other. So the question is it really dangerous right now what we put to heads of our children of this generation? And what is the worst program you think we made in pandemic situation and we put to young people, to generations?
Yeah. Okay. The whole pandemic thing was based on fear. Is it based on the virus that deadly? No, the virus is not that deadly. Did a lot of people die? Yes. Why? Because the virus is deadly? No, they were weak. Their systems, they had diabetes, they were overweight by a lot of weight, they have stress problems. So it wasn't the virus that really killed them, as they were already what we say in comorbidity, meaning they were already going toward death because their health was so bad. So the virus it wasn't that strong, as they were that weak. That's why people died. It's sort of like a wolf, follows a herd of animals and picks out an animal and kills it for food. I say, does the wolf pick out the biggest animal with the most antlers on it? I go, no. The wolf goes for the weakest one. Why? It wants to eat. It's just whoever's the easiest one to catch is the weakest one. So the wolves take the weak elements out of the population. That's what the ones they clean up the population, if you think about it. Okay. I go, the COVID virus is the equivalent of the wolf. It took out the weak ones. It didn't take out the strong ones. They had a flu. They didn't go to the hospital. And all of a sudden I say, but what did we do? And here's the issue. We program people to be separate from each other. Don't get too close. Wear a mask so nobody could see your face, what the expression is, because we read faces. Put a mask on. Can't see what the face is saying, okay? We cause them to separate from each other. Stay 6-7 feet apart. Don't get closer than that. Keep away from other people. I go, this is a breakdown of community. There's no community when everybody's separate from each other. And I go, people only have power when people are in a community of people. If there's no community, there is no power for the people. And the COVID pandemic took away the power of people. because it broke up community. Everybody stay in your house. Don't go mix with other people, and don't let other people come to your house, whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
this was a giant program of disempowering the public. It was a
Yeah.
test, in my opinion, because the world is facing some big problems and they want to control the people so they don't go crazy when the problems come. And I said, well, how do you control the people? And the first thing is you take away their power. And the COVID took away the power of people all around the whole world at the same time, and just made a few people in charge of, this is what we do. And they were in charge of the whole world. And the people lost their power. That was what if you understand it, that was the important message that came from the pandemic, is
Yeah.
we all of a sudden believe whatever that one person said. That one person, Fauci, I'm a scientist. That guy is an embarrassment to science. He says, I am science, and what I say is true. And I go, you're not the Pope of science. There's no one science guy that knows all of science. And you're going to try to say whatever you say is true, and whatever Bruce Lipton says is not true. And then Bruce Lipton got censored on YouTube because I started talking some true things. They didn't want me to say it. And they started doing what? Separating people who were making criticism,
Yeah.
and getting rid of them. Why? Because you listen to the one word, my word. That was the program. And
Yeah, I know what you. I know what you're talking about. The people who are watching us, they know that I had censorship for my page with 230,000 people, and they deleted that page because I made interviews with people like from that side and from that side, but Facebook is you know. So Bruce, I
Yes.
really love talking with you, but I really respect your time as well. So can we continue with the questions? I have
Well,
here.
let's do a few more, and then we'll stop. Maybe 10, 15 more minutes. Okay.
10, 15 more minutes. Okay,
Yeah.
I will just go just with the questions we have. If we do not finish all of them, if you want, and if you have any time in the future, we can connect again. Okay, it
Yeah.
depends on you, because
Yeah.
you are a very busy person. So if there is opportunity, let's do it. I really
Well,
love it. And
I
thank
am
you a lot.
here because of that opportunity, because this is the opportunity to talk to a bigger audience. As I said when I come in, it's nice talking with you, but it's more
Thank you very much.
important that we talk to this audience, because
Yes,
they're the
of
ones that
course.
are going to make evolution
Yeah,
or
yeah,
not,
you're right.
based on their belief.
You're
Let's
right.
try
You're
another
right.
question.
So this question is from Lukasz. I'm going to translate.
Yeah.
How much does the chemistry around us, in the food, in the air, for example, affect our positive thinking? Can it subconsciously change our attitude, like that we do not, in conscious mind realize that a lot of chemistry in food everywhere, and it changes our subconsciousness as well? What do you think about it?
Absolutely. This is the unfortunate part, because we buy into the story and accept what's going on, when some of the things that we do are actually against our own health and our own vitality. Eating the conventional food at the supermarket, this is what we call industrial farm, where I love it because they spray all the chemicals on the food. And I show a picture in the class of a farmer in the field spraying the chemicals. He's wearing a hazard suit, the big yellow hazard suit. And I said, why is he wearing a hazard suit? Well, the spray is toxic. I go, yeah, but if you're spraying it, why are you spraying it on the plants that I'm going to eat? You see, and it's like, oh, okay, forgot about that. So yeah, I try to get people to recognize, no, food is very important, but it has to be really healthy, kind of good food to eat. I always loved being in Thailand because everything was made fresh, man. All the fruits
Yeah,
and the vegetables is like, I mean, I never had fruit as sweet as I ever had in Thailand, and it's not
yeah,
industrial farming. It's just old fashioned people taking care, farmers being in love with their job, doing what they're doing, not industrial farming people. That's important. That the environment around us is important, but is it really totally important? And the answer is no, because your consciousness can resist all those forces, and people can walk across the hot coals. They walk across the fire and the coals, and they don't get burned. Like, what does that mean? I say, well, first of all, they have a powerful belief that they won't get burned. Don't walk across a fire if you're not sure, because the moment you step on that coal, you're going to burn yourself instantly. I say, oh, belief controls the reality. I go, that's what quantum physics has been telling us all along. And all of a sudden it says, well, then I could live in a toxic environment. Even in the US, I have a video of, in the southern part of the United States, there are religious people that work themselves up into what they call religious ecstasy. They speak in tongues, stupid words, whatever. They do things to show God protects them. I say, well, like, what do they do? I say, some play with poisonous snakes and they get bitten. And guess what? They don't have an effect from that. Some do, because they're not in full belief system. But if you're in a full belief system, the snake can bite you and you get no problem. But here's the one I wanted to emphasize, and it's on the video, that they drink strychnine poison. Now that's toxic poison, strychnine poison. But they do it with, they call it testify. I said, what does that mean? I said, they do something that no normal person would do, but they do it because they believe God protects them. They drink the strychnine poison with that belief, and guess what? No harmful effects. They're drinking straight out poison. Why? The belief is I am safe. And that's, if it's unshakable belief, then they can drink the poison, they get bit by the snake, no harmful effects. I'm going, that's how powerful the human is. It wasn't God that was protected, it was their belief they were protected. That's what gave them that. So all of a sudden it says, so you can eat poison and not have an effect. I say, if your belief system is strong, absolutely true. And yet we have fears. Oh, if I eat that, I could get sick. And I say, well, now what's the picture? Sickness from what? Eating this, picture sickness. I go, that's a bad image, because once you eat it, then your mind is going to generate the picture of sickness, and then you will get sick because the mind will create it. So environmental influences affect us, but when a person is fully conscious and fully powerful with their thinking, they're not threatened by these things. They can walk through the fire, drink the poison, whatever, and not have any negative effect. But you have to be pretty strong in your belief. And yet, as we talked about, most people's beliefs are connected to fear and weakness, and I can't do this, I'm a victim. I go, those beliefs, don't drink the poison. Don't walk across the hot coals.
Drink tea.
That's get calmed down.
Yeah. If you have this belief, just drink tea. It's better.
So environment will influence us the more our belief system says that it does. If people say, oh, this is a bad place because the air is bad, and then you live there, you could get sick from what? The belief that the air is bad, not even that it was bad, just because you believe it was bad. And that's where negative thinking can cause any illness on the planet, which we should mention is positive thinking called placebo. And placebo is what I say, well, somebody's sick with a certain disease and the doctor says, I got the brand new pill. That's just for you. It's going to heal you. And the person's so excited. They take the pill, they get better. And then later it was a sugar pill. I said, then what healed you? I said, not the sugar pill, your belief that the pill, very positive belief. And everybody goes, oh yeah, positive belief, placebo. Yes. And I go, but you're not paying attention, because negative belief is equally powerful, but it works in the opposite direction. Negative belief you can manifest any disease if you believe it. You can die just because you believe you're going to die. Wow. These are negative thinkings. This is called nocebo. Placebo, positive thinking, can heal me of any disease. Nocebo, negative thinking, can cause any disease. And all of a sudden I say, so what's the common factor? Is the belief. Is it positive or negative? That's the bottom line. Is the belief positive or negative? Because that will determine the outcome.
Wow. Whew. I'm going to ask you the last question because of time, Bruce. And we can just plan next time, because we have 10 more questions, very interesting questions. So we will see. We will make it. So the last one for now, for this part, because it's amazing. A lot of answers, a lot of tips for you people, guys. I think that you can watch it all over again and you will find always something new. So the last question for now is from Rinit. And this is very interesting, really. I'm going to translate it for you.
Yes.
Uh, Bruce, can I change the past by making a decision now? For example, by telling myself to start accepting everything, even death. Is it possible? Like that if I accept everything right now, that my past will change in the past and it will affect my reality now and future?
Yes. Because remember the story I talked about the two Buddhist monks walking, and I said that the one of them kept carrying the past. And as long as he was carrying the past, I was bothering him. The other one who dropped the woman off said, I let it go a long time ago. That one has no leftover problem from history still carrying to today. The one who didn't let it go and said, why'd you carry her? And, that's an hour later, he's carrying the past with him. If the past wasn't any good, you don't have to own it and live with it anymore. You can change the meaning of it. And you can start to say, oh, I wasn't aware. I wasn't conscious. I was unaware. I have no power if I'm not knowledge. If I have no knowledge, I have no power. Okay. But now today I have knowledge. So I say, then good. When I go back, I can see that trouble wasn't that was somebody else causing a problem that I'm still holding on to 20 years later. Okay. And I'm going, that's why the story of the Buddhist monks was so important, is that most people's problems are not happening at this moment. Most people's problems are something they've been carrying for a long time. And I said, well, you can change the thinking. I say, well, wait, I say, we've been talking about this is really a good point to talk about right now. It's like we've been talking about the fact that there's a person's spiritual mind, conscious mind up here, which connected to spirit, wishes, and desires, and that this is a program mind. It's not them, it's a program. Okay. People's lives are only 5% from who they are, but 95% from their programs. So that means if somebody's done something wrong to you, was that because that person was evil? I say, no, their program was evil. They had no even, they were doing it unconsciously. That's what unconscious, subconscious mean. They didn't even see what they were doing. They just did it. Yeah. So it becomes important. And let me tie this in because I'm not religious. But there are a few things out of the Bible that, okay, that makes good, positive sense. That makes sense. The one that I want to bring up is the last words that Jesus said when he was on the cross. He said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. And I go, that's a message for all of us. Why? Because if somebody was creating trouble for you, were they creating trouble with their conscious mind, or were they creating the trouble because of the programming they got through the family? I go, what's the difference? I say, the programming is not them. That's a program. They're the conscious mind. That's a different thing. If we would learn to let go of the things in the past that happened, that upset us, that we carry on today, the memory, and change the way we live and all that. And I say, if we could let go and do what Jesus said, forgive them. They didn't know what they were doing. You received a bad response and a bad behavior. Did they know they were giving you that? And I say, no, subconscious, 95% of the day. They didn't even know it. And I go, so what's the point? I say, take those words, forgive them. They know not what they do, because subconscious is done without any awareness. It's just automatic. It's just shooting out there, okay? Because if you do that, then you let go of the things that tie you to the scary, the evil, the negative, the violence, whatever in the past. I say, no, wait. Those people, which I don't like those people. I say, well, you're holding on to them because they're not here anymore. You're still not mad. I'm still mad. I said, 20 years ago, they're not even here. You're still holding on to it. Yeah. And this is the Buddhist story again. I said, let go of this. Why? They didn't know what they were doing. All of us are running programs. If somebody could stop and educate a person and say, do you know that 95% of your life is not coming from your wishes and your desires, but it's coming from your program? Maybe they would do something about it. But this is not in our education system. So as a result, everybody takes everything personal. That person did this to me. I go, that person didn't even know what the hell they were doing. That person was playing a program. Now, you could hate that person, but again, they didn't know they were doing it. It was a program. So letting go does two things. It lets that person stay in the past where they were, but allows you to let go of the past, that it didn't happen the way you thought it did. It wasn't that that person was so evil, that evil person. I go, that person was playing a program. Bad hard drive. They got an evil hard drive. I go, yeah, but that's not them. And this is what we need to learn in today's world is forgiveness. Because if we don't forgive, then we hold on. And if there are negative things we can hold on to our whole life, never let it go. And you could be angry right up to the last minute of your life. And I'm going, you could let it go right now. The past is the past. There was a wonderful movie. Let me close with this because it's a cool movie. It was called Regarding Henry. That's the name of the movie, Regarding Henry. And it starred, who's the guy, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the main character. He's a really wonderful actor. Raiders of the Lost Ark guy, okay? And what the movie is about was really cool. He, in the story, was a vicious lawyer, ripping people, lawyer. He goes into a convenience store and there's a holdup, and the burglar guy, shoots him in the head, and he gets amnesia. And so he's in the hospital. And he goes, "Who am I? I don't know. I don't know who I am. I don't know." So after he gets out of the hospital, he wants to find out. So he goes to where he was working and starts reading about things that he had done in the law cases. And he got very upset by all this, and he started how he was not nice to other people, and he started to review this and how he wasn't great with his wife, and all of a sudden, because he had no memory of it, he was just hearing the story. I don't want to be that person. He has a chance now. What? He has no memory. Create the one he wants. What did he do? He left the job. He took his family on vacation. He gave them love and all this stuff. That took him from the vicious lawyer he was to the wonderful family man he was, creating a wonderful life for his wife and for his kids and all that. Now, do we need to get shot in the head? I go, no. We can change this. If you know what the program is, then you can change it. And we discussed very briefly, what's the program? I said 95% of your life is the program. Whatever's not working in your life is because of a program, not because of the life, but because of the program. So if I shot you in your head and you woke up and you say, "What do I want?" I said, "Well, you don't want that one. You want a different life. So now I put a new program in and you have it." And I said, "Well, you can do that without getting shot in the head." My website reveals many different articles and talks about changing belief system. And if we get back together again, Tomas, that would be a very important one, just to talk to people, because it is doable.
Yeah.
And if you do that, then you could have I'm an example of it. Why? My first 40 plus years was programmed. I was programmed to be a good professor. Yeah, I did a great job in that, but I had really bad programs about being a relationship or family or any of that stuff. And I rewrote that. And now I live heaven on earth. I go, this is not an accident. It's not a coincidence. This is a program. I rewrote the program. You want to change your life? You have to stop and say, what would my new behavior be? What do I want? Not what I've been programmed. What is it I want? How do I want to behave? Do I want to be angry at people? No. Do I want people to be angry at me? No. So what am I going to do? I'm going to create better relationships. I'm not going to hold on to anger. Somebody makes a mistake and gets me angry. I'm not going to, for the rest of my life, say, that guy is bad. I'm just going to let it go. And if you let all that stuff go, then guess what? If there's no anger in your life, then there's joy and happiness in your life. That is a destination. That's why the book, The Honeymoon Effect, describes this and how to take care of it. That's a very shorter book than the other ones. But to me, it's a very critical book. Why? Because when people are living a honeymoon, they're living heaven on earth. And that you can have a life every day of your life. You could have heaven on earth. It's those programs. You got to get rid of them, rewrite them, put better programs in.
Thank you very much, Bruce, for everything. Just amazing interview. I'm very grateful. It was a great opportunity, honor for me to have you here, just to speak with you, ask you the questions of people. Thank you very much. And I put the link on your website
Yes.
below the video, so you can find it. You can read it if your English is okay, just to read. I also put there your books. Okay, it's in a Czech as well, so you can buy the book to read
Yeah.
it. It's also I think it's also the audio book. I listened to it on Spotify. I think I bought some time
But there's a
ago.
new one that's even better because that was
Yeah,
before I did that
it's
before I
amazing.
wrote the book. The new
Yeah,
audio is actually the book. So that's
it's
a new
amazing.
version.
Yeah, so just find it. And again, thank you very much. If you have any time in the future, we can connect again and to just follow the,
I would
to
love to
continue.
connect with you. I would
Thank you
love
very
to
much.
connect with you because then we connect with your big audience. And that's what we
Yeah,
want. We want your
yeah, yeah,
audience. If
yeah.
everybody in your audience wakes up, man, that's already a start for a whole better world right now.
So if you want to continue with this interview with Bruce, just do something good for other people around you and share this interview. Share it, for your friends. Maybe there is something they will not agree right now, but it's good to hear. They can discuss, they can communicate in my channel. Every opinion is welcomed. So please share this interview, share this video, and subscribe if you're new here, because I'm going to continue interview people which you like and which you want from me. So have a nice day, enjoy it, create your future, create your I want to say, like, create your time
Heaven
now.
on earth. Create your heaven on earth.
Yeah,
That's
create
what you
it.
want.
Yeah. And Bruce, now it's your time. If there anything you want to wish people in my country, do
Yes.
that now.
I want people to recognize that what's falling apart is not scary, but necessary. If you understand it's necessary, then we don't focus on what's on falling apart. What we focus on is where we're going to build a new one and how we're going to build a new one. If you put your energy into that one, then you're going to be having positive thinking and a positive life. If you hold on to the one that's falling down, that's fear, and you'd be afraid, you'd be scared. It will make you sick just having that fear alone. So it's a choice, and that's the important part. You have freedom. You can make a choice. You can be afraid of the world, or you can say, I'm going to create a better world. And that's where the power is going to come. And you're all out there, and I look forward to you creating a better world, because when you make a better world for you, I have a better world automatically. Thank you.
Thank you very much.